was also over Sydney and I wanted to get out of Sydney and I was so stuck there, bro. I was so stuck. The reason why I was stuck there so badly is because I didn't have enough money at this stage to pay my housemate's bond back. So she'd paid me some bond, and I think during the process I was so broke I had to use the bond. I had no real knowledge of or frameworks for what I'd been doing to then teach to someone, and that was when I went to my first. It would have been 20. Probably was 2012, 2013. I went to Jordan Belfort.
Straight line.
I went to the Straight Line. It was a 2-day seminar in Sydney. I had the skills and I just wasn't using the right strategy, and it sort of helped calibrate me across to closing on the phone, my ticket closing. So I realized, and what I tell people now is that sales is great, but sales is very broad. It's like medical is very broad. You've got medical professionals, you've got doctors, you've got GPs, you've got surgeons. But what I loved about the closing side of things was, again, it was in my calendar. If I got the sale, I made $800. If I got 10 of those sales a week, it was $8 grand. If I got whatever. I love just the challenge of it and being in a position where it's a performance sport. And if I was training, if I was learning and up-leveling myself and just dedicating myself to it, morning routines, education, pre-call priming, mantras, practicing objections, reframes, and I'd jump on a call and I'd close a deal that I might not have closed if I wasn't so primed.
When did we first meet? Do you remember?
That's a good question. That is a good question. I want to say like 2015, 2016. No, 2015.
Potts Point?
Potts Point. Yeah, you were a Glider Cafe. I was living across the road.
That's it. That's right.
Yeah, I was living across the road. I'd go for brekkie every morning. Mark and Pla owned the cafe. And there was all these suits. Where the fuck are these suits coming from? Who are these people?
Oh, in the cafe.
Yeah, in the cafe.
Yeah.
And then you were just in the corner every morning. Somehow we became friends. I don't know how that happened.
Well, for context, for people listening, like obviously our office was on the back end of that cafe, like
Broughton, so the
parallel street
below.
And we all used to go there. And so you're probably just thinking, like everyone's dressed up.
Yeah, because it's not a corporate, it's in the city of Sydney, but it's not a corporate area.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of office and suits. And so it was a bit weird. I just had no idea who all these people were. And then somehow we must have got chatting.
Well, we did, because I think you're running the fitness biz. We both got into some.
That's right. The smart category, the smart company, Hot 30.
Yeah, that's it.
Under 30. So we'd see each other, say g'day, get to the point where we'd say good morning.
Yeah.
Because you were there every day. I was there every day.
Yeah.
There was that big table. You were always in the corner. And then smart company published the Hot 30 Entrepreneurs Under 30.
Yeah.
You and Simon were whatever, like 12, 11 or something, and I was underneath.
Okay.
I was the next.
Okay.
Nowhere near as successful as you guys, but I somehow made it there. And the reason why I was there is because I was in EO.
Okay.
And EO had some media connections and they were looking for young entrepreneurs, and so the call out came, and so I got the nod. But I think my little fitness business was not doing anywhere. Was not anywhere near as successful as Cohen Handler at that stage.
But you obviously grew that fitness biz. Like, that was a good business, or not?
It was a good business at the start, and it's similar to we were just talking off air about the done for you sales model, where you've got sales agencies who go in and do sales for companies, and so we're essentially a done for you PT agency for gyms. So instead of a gym owner or Anytime Fitness owner, which those are the gyms we worked with, instead of them, a lot of those guys were investors and they didn't have any relevance to fitness or experience with it. They'd buy a gym, they'd want to make cash, but they realised that to really get retention, you need to get personal training in the gym. Personal training is essential. Mm. So they knew they needed to do it. Plus they wanted to make cash, make rent, but they didn't know where to start. So I saw an opportunity, and I started in Alexandria and just offered a gym owner who was just opening. I just offered her a certain amount of cash to take the gym and run the PT studio out of it, or PT business. Hired a bunch of PTs. We built it it was very big. Like, we were constantly getting complaints about how many PTs were always using the the gym equipment, and no one could ever use gym equipment because there were PTs everywhere in the Alexandria. It was a small gym, but we were crowding it. And then that was 2012 when we started that business. And then, of course, with gym owners, especially in that network of Anytime Fitness owners, they would all talk, and I started to get some calls, and so we expanded the gym, or expanded the business to other Anytime Fitness gyms. And so it was a really good business, really profitable, like really, like I was making the most amount of money that I'd ever made, and at a small scale. Lower rents, not as many management hassles. It was all condensed into one gym. It wasn't until we expanded that business to then multiple sites. And so the way it would work, I'd pay the gym owner, I'd contract personal trainers, I'd train them up, they'd come into the gym. We would teach them how to prospect and how to sell. And then the clients would pay us and we'd pay the trainers. And so we built that I built that from, so there was a few people, a few like key staff that I'd had pretty much through the whole journey. We built that from a few trainers in the Alexandra gym to 10 sites and 45 trainers, 3 mil in revenue, which for a PT business was great. And it was a good model at a small scale. And I think just as a start, and what I should have done was I should have bought gyms. Which is a much better business model. And then run the PT as a subsidiary to the gym membership. But what I sort of didn't see that. All I saw was just massive scale. This is working. People need this. Let's expand this model. And then it just, as we expanded, the cracks started to appear. And so it was about 6 years, 5 or 6 years from 2012 to 2017, I believe, we were flying, and then we weren't. So we went into liquidation, and it was and then that sort of is what led me to high ticket closing.
Yeah, it's because I forget, like it seems like, or maybe I wasn't communicating with you at the time, but it seems like like you were just flying, and then suddenly you're like, mate, I'm going to liquidation. It's like, fuck. Like, and then it's interesting because it's happened with me, just like, and some of the other business owners, like ego comes in, expansion, growth. There's no real like clear understanding of why you want to do it. And then the wheels just fucking start to shake. It's scary.
Yeah, I think with me, I had this big vision of just taking over every single Anytime Fitness location in Australia. I wanted a rapid personal trainer. I wanted a rapid PT in every gym in Australia. And that was the vision, and I could see it happening. And we became a training company. We developed crazy good training for our team. We could never hire the best PTs or the most experienced PTs because they wanted to earn a lot more money. So we were charging whatever we were charging. We'd pay them a percentage, and so it was never enough for a great PT. So we had to be a really amazing training ground for personal trainers, and particularly in sales and marketing, because that's how you get business. That's how you grow. That's how they get paid. That's how we get paid. So it was less focused initially on deadlifts and squats and push-ups with the PTs. It was more focused on, here's how you prospect. Here's how you sell. Here's a process to do that. Let's do training every day, and let's hold you accountable with regular meetings. And that all started I used to do all the sales in that gym in Alexandria. That was before we met. But I would do the sales and I would just farm them out to the PTs. So I would do all the consults, farm them out to the personal trainers. And then we signed our second location, and I realized that I was going to be spread, second or third location. I realized I was going to be spread. So that's when I started to think about hiring a salesperson. So my first salesperson I hired, instead of teaching the PTs initially, I hired a sales team.
Okay.
Because I thought that's working. These guys will do the PT. I'll keep selling, and I'll hire other guys who are like me just to prospect and sell. That was the whole job. So the first dude we hired, his name was Daz.
Dazza.
Daz, he was an iconic sort of dude. The guy was trying to think. He had a little tagline. It was Daz, like helping you be all you can be. He was one of those like Tony Robbins kind of dudes. He just loved personal growth, and he was always. But then he'd just go missing as well, so it was funny. But it was my first ever time hiring a salesperson. I'd never really taken much training. I'd gone through some business coaching when I was a one-on-one fitness trainer. I'd probably completed by that stage 500 fitness consults and closed however many clients over the journey as a PT, and it wasn't until I hired Daz that I was like, all right, now I need to understand how to train this person.
Yeah. Because
he could sell, but he didn't know how to sell PT, didn't know how to sell my PT. And we went from closing, I would close most people. We would convert 90%. I think I was converting at 90%. The process we had, when someone booked a consult, it was a free consult. I took them through a process, gave them some gym floor time, came back, and I'd convert them onto something. And then with Daz, when Daz was in the hot seat, our conversion rate just tanked. And I was just scratching my head going, what the fuck? We've gone from making all this cash, starting to dip a bit. What's going on? And he just kept saying, oh, look, people just want to think about it. And he's like, how do I deal with that?
Indecision.
And I'm like, I don't know. I didn't have a process for it. It was never something I got. I was the guy. I was the whatever. I would give a lot of certainty, confidence. It was very rare that I got that objection. And so I realized at that point I had no real knowledge or frameworks for what I'd been doing to then teach to someone. And that was when I went to my first, it would have been 2012, 2013. I went to Jordan Belfort.
Straight line.
I went to the Straight Line. It was a 2-day seminar in Sydney. And then I signed up for the online course. And then from that's where we built a training program that we put all of our salespeople through. And I was able to then sort of take what I knew what I was doing and actually put it into frameworks that I can teach and people could model. And so DAZ, but the DAZ, helping you be all you can be. That's what he used to say, the DAZ. So his name was Daz, but he called himself the DAZ. And there would be months where, man, it was horrific. This sales team I built was just it was a constant nightmare with these guys because we didn't have any metrics or we didn't have Salesforce or anything, but I didn't know what they were doing. They were all paid on a salary. They were all out in different gyms, and then we'd come back on a Monday to talk about results. And you're like, oh, where the fuck are the sales? And story. Everyone's got a story. And then we'd have an okay month, and Daz would get paid some good commission. Then the dude would go missing for a week.
What, on a bender?
Couldn't reach him. I had to send. There was twice I had to send. I just send one of my team around to knock on his front door to go, where is this guy? He's supposed to be in all of these sessions. He got paid his commission. Fuck knows where he went.
Okay.
The DA.
MIA.
Yeah. So it was quite funny, and eventually we transitioned that across to PTs but yeah, birth by fire, man. The business model was a bit broken. We were paying gym owners too much. We were in some contracts that put a lot of the risk on us and none on the gyms, and ultimately we sort of tanked it and was out on my backside and back on the gym floor counting reps in Potts Point.
It was a wild time because I had an experience at that time, someone like that I was mates with going through liquidation. I'd never didn't have anyone on my network like that. And it was wild. What like you literally created, I remember a fucking spreadsheet. You love spreadsheets. You created around like how you're going to live. Cause like you're on such a shoestring budget. Like it was, and I remember looking, I was like, fuck, like this is real.
Man, it was so bad. It was, I would have subscriptions that came out, and so some people have a monthly budget. Some people have a weekly budget where they know where things. I had a daily budget, so I knew I needed to know how much was in my bank account because I knew when every subscription payment was coming out. I knew when my obviously rent and food, and there was some things, just little software things that I needed, and And I had to have enough money in my bank account to pay the $120 subscription that I had for that every month, and it was coming out on the 6th. And I've got that coming up. Got to make sure I make some money somewhere. But I completely lost all my cash. And I wasn't rich by any stretch. I think I'd create a good amount of wealth, but nowhere near as much as I probably should have at that stage as an entrepreneur and 7-figure business. But I came out shares and didn't own property. It wasn't. But I had to liquidate all of that, all of my funds, because the business that Rapid PT, I'd signed all of these personal guarantees on some debts and things like the car and the Rangy and just weird things like the printer, big printer. There was some short-term loans that we had to fund payroll through Christmas when everyone was away. It was just, and then we had ATO. So it was a lot. Like I had this much in debt that was now all my debt. A lot of it was my debt now, the company, but it was passed on to me. And I had this much in money. And so then I was using a bankruptcy trustee trustee. They work for free because 1 in 5 people are going to go under and then they're going to get paid. So he was communicating with all of my creditors, and it was a whole process. It was stressful. And then I managed to negotiate whatever payment to all of my creditors, and they all agreed. And then it was just all distributed. So then I had, I think we had 10 grand or something that I was allowed to keep to live off, and that was what I had, and then didn't really have an income either.
So when you started selling for BAI, Buyers Agent Institute, was that your first role?
Yeah, I was back. I'd actually started doing some sales consulting because I was in EO, and I was taking on gigs as sales consulting here and there with a couple of EOers, which were just gigs, were sort of on and off. And then I was also back on the gym floor at Anytime Fitness to earn cash. So that was a real wake-up call.
Humbling.
That was so humbling, bro. I don't know if you've been down there. Have you been to the Anytime Fitness in Potsy?
It's disgusting.
It's horrible. Like mentally, you're in this dungeon, you're downstairs, it's dark.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It's just depressing. But I was back down the accounting reps, and so I couldn't have been more depressed. But I had to do it. And then I just remember your BAI was just taking off. We'd be at brekkie. We'd have coffee. We were having coffee, and you just constantly were on the phone. You were taking calls.
But that was Cohen Handler when you saw me.
Yeah, you were a Cohen Handler, but you'd started BAI.
I was selling out. That's right. I was selling out.
You were selling out, but you're also, I think it was when you're also trying to buy your place in Potts.
Yeah.
And you had to, like, you were hustling. I think you might have just gotten into partnership with JG as well. So there was a lot of calls coming through. And I just remember we had a convo, and you were, I think you said, oh fuck, I'm going to make 70 grand on this BAI this month.
Yeah, it was like month 2 or something.
And I was like, fuck, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Because at the time for me, 70 grand was a month was just insane. I just remember being blown away. And you were constantly on the phone. And there was a point at which I remember saying, dude, let me close some deals for you.
Yeah, it's no, you're right, because what happened was I just remembered, like when I sold out a Cohen Handler, there was like a grace period I had where I had to spend 6 months there, and then
that's right.
And BAI had started, and so I was kind of just running that. It was a new business, so I was back in startup mode, and it was just crazy. And I was dealing with lawyers with the separation, and it was crazy. But
you're stressed as fuck.
Yeah, stressed as fuck. Yeah. And then you're like, hey, I'll jump on the phone, and then you just started crushing it.
Well, then there was RC as well, and I think Jezza jumped on as well. So there was 3 of us on the phones, and I don't think, I'm not sure how many they closed, but I don't think it was many because it was tough. And I think I remember the first month or two, maybe the first month, I was like, okay. So we were getting paid $800 commissions at that point because they were the certain type of lead. So we were getting paid $800, sorry, not G's. And I was like, fuck. because I was charging $150 per session for a 10-pack in the gym, and so I was having to go through a whole process of calling the cold list of all new joiners and making 100 calls a day to try to get a few people in to do a free session, and then from the free session convert a few to PT, and then let's say $1,500 for a 10-pack, and then I have to go deliver 10 sessions, 10 hours of work or whatever. And I was like, fuck, I get $800. So if I get one of these deals in my calendar and I get $800, that's more than half what it takes me, what I'm getting for then doing 10 hours of freaking work on the gym floor.
Leverage your time.
Yeah, and then I was also over Sydney, and I wanted to get out of Sydney. I wanted out. I was like, I'm done. And I was so stuck there, bro. I was so stuck because I had no money. I didn't have enough money. The reason why I was stuck there so badly is because I didn't have enough money at this stage to pay my housemate's bond back.
Fuck.
so I had that apartment. So she'd paid me some bond, and I think during the process I was so broke I had to use the bond, so that I couldn't leave because I couldn't pay her bond back. So I had to find a way to make enough money to pay her whatever it was, like I think it was $1,500 or $2,000 bond back. So that's how broke I was. And so I could just see this opportunity. I'd see it right there in front of me. There was appointments that were just in my calendar. All I had to do was jump on the phone, close them. I get paid $800. There was no delivery. It was insane. But I remember it being tough at the start because I knew nothing about buyer's agents.
And it was also very early on. Like I remember no one at that stage, 2018, like no one knew what a fucking buyer's agent was either. So like people coming to the call were like what is this?
No one knew what a buyer's agent was.
Yeah.
No one knew what a buyer's agent was. No, there was no setting. Like we talk about setters now and like homework and a whole process we take them through, content, YouTube videos, like podcasts and shit. There was none of that. So what people would see a video, they'd see an ad, click on it, go through and watch a VSL.
That's right.
And then they book a call in my calendar, and then I'd have to close them on the first call. And if I didn't close them on the first call, at that time I had no pipeline management, no follow-up. I wasn't really, as much as I was good at PT selling and sales, it was a very different way of selling. It was so different. It was, you're there in person, you're building rapport, you're building trust. I used to say my body is my business card because I was fit and take people out and people just buy into me. So I feel like I sold a lot of, when I was a PT, I sold a lot on people were buying me, and it was in person, so it was easy to build trust. And so now I was on these phone calls, and there were phone calls, they weren't Zoom calls, so we're just on the phone. No one knew who the fuck I was.
Yeah.
I didn't know them from a bar or stuff. They didn't know what a buyer's agent was. They didn't care who I was, and they were full of fear. And then at the end, we have to take whatever, 6,000, whatever we were charging at that time, to take that over the phone. It was a very different sale, and I remember it being really hard.
Yeah,
I remember feeling like I'm getting my ass kicked. I remember one Sunday, I think I took like six or seven calls, and I didn't close any, and I remember, and it was just one of those. It was one of those days where it was just people would have all these fucking questions, and there was no frame control, so I was just answering questions. I got to the point where I was so drained, I just didn't have it in me to even try to control it, like ask questions back or keep. I was just sitting there giving them all the information, they were draining the life out of me, and no one bought. And I remember just at the end of that day going, I feel like I'm gonna throw myself off this fucking building. I'm like, this
can be draining.
I'm done. Dude, and I was so defeated. And so I remember saying to you, dude, mate, feel free to boot me because I'm not closing these leads. So that took a month, and then I somehow started to work it out, and then I did a little training program. It was called the Sales Mentor with Taylor Welsh, and it kind of just helped me gave me like with Jordan Belfort in the gym and giving me a framework. It gave me a bit of a framework to start working from, and I had the skills and I just wasn't using the right strategy. And there was a few things that I wasn't really doing on those calls, and And it sort of helped calibrate me across to closing on the phone, high ticket closing. So I realized, and what I tell people now is that sales is great, but sales is very broad. It's like medical is very broad. You've got medical professionals, you've got doctors, you've got GPs, you've got surgeons. Ball sports is also really broad. You've got golf, you've got tennis, you've got squash. They're all similar. You're holding a stick and you're hitting a ball, but it's a different sport. And so sales is not all. Sales ain't sales. So not every selling different types of products through a different type of process can be super, super different. And so I found that it was very different to what I'd been used to in the gym. And so calibrating that across, then I started to make some money, thankfully. And then in that first year, we crushed it.
Yeah, you did like 300K.
Yeah, in commission.
I mean, one of the things I admire about you is that like we were working it out. It was this for me. It was a new business. It was online. It was education. I was in a service-based business. All my sales were face-to-face, sitting in front of people. So phone sales, I'd never done them. But I jumped on the seat for the first 3 months was doing them, and I was just like, this is wild. Like, you don't have to see someone. And I was making heaps of mistakes. But getting back to what I was saying is like you dive always in the deep end, like just to learn and train. And I feel like you spent the time and the investment to kind of, with the little money you had, to kind of go back in and educate through Taylor Welsh, through Cole Gordon, through all these other people to really start to develop like your own operating system around how it's going to work. And I feel like you did really well doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's me. I'm a systems thinker. So I'm generally an extrovert, but I'm also a bit of a systematic type of person. So I like to have a structure. I need to have a structure that I'm working within, a framework. And so, but what I loved about the closing side of things was, again, it was in my calendar. If I got the sale, I made $800. If I got, 10 of those sales a week, it was $8,000. If I got whatever, and I didn't have to do any delivery. I was remote. I was able to move out of Sydney. I moved to Bali.
Oh, that's right.
I moved to Bali and I loved the win or loss as well. I loved just the challenge of it and being in a position where it's a performance sport. And if I was training, if I was learning and up-leveling myself and just dedicating myself to it, morning routines, education, pre-call priming, mantras, practicing objections, reframes, and I'd jump on a call and I'd close a deal that I might not have closed if I wasn't so primed. I loved it because I was an athlete. I played all the sports, but I missed that where you get a win and you're like, it's the best feeling ever. And if you lose, it would just drive me insane.
Performance-based sport it is. It's when you were saying earlier about like you had those 6 calls on the Sunday and you didn't close any and you were just giving everything like unpacking stuff. You just, defeated, you said. Like closings, I mean, I did it for like 3 or 4 months and my diary was stacked 6 days a week, right?
Yeah.
Still doing big campaigns for John and stuff. So it's fucking taxing.
Passive.
Like you got to like have protection around you because everyone's throwing their shit onto you. You're dealing with people you don't want to be, and I found it. I mean, I didn't really work it out properly, but like it feels like it's a bit of a skill to like manage your energy because it's like, oh, you just close on the phone. It's like, well, it's hard work, right? Like there's a lot to it.
You just think like there's so many sales reps now that like with BAI we built the team.
Yeah.
We built it to 12, 15 reps, which I was managing and built the process.
Yeah.
And now I run my own sales team. I coach salespeople for a living and the difference that you can get in result in terms of outcome, conversion, sales, revenue, when you've got a rep who's in a good headspace, who's primed, who's sort of showing up at as their best version versus if they're in a shitty headspace, they're, grasping it, they're desperate, they're just not, things aren't going well in their life, they're not primed. It's crazy. They say the same words, they use the same process, but they don't get the result because the nuance of it is, it runs deep. You just need to be on your game.
Yeah. I guess one of my questions I was going to ask is, like what constitutes a good sales rep? Because obviously your business, Remote Sales Institute, RSI, like you've probably got people from all walks of life, right? You got plumbers, you got people in the legal industry. I'm sure you just got all these different people, right? Like if you look at them all on paper and you kind of look at all your top performers and you look at kind of your bottom performers, like is there a clear pattern of people who are coming to you, I would say without sales experience, who end up doing well? Like what is it?
I think resilience is, that's the thing that comes to mind. The biggest one is resilience. Someone they've got a hard or a thick skin, they can bounce back quickly, and they're very goal focused. They've got big ambitions. So I think someone who's very driven towards a goal. They need money, whether it comes from a place like me where I was broke on the bare bones of my ass and I needed to pay my housemate's bond back so I could actually leave Potts Point. So whether you're so broke that if you don't make it work, you're out on the street, or whether you are like a Brendan who one of our best closers at BAI, Brendan was always investing in properties, and so he would always have the reason what drove him, and he was a savage, and he was someone who was just constantly trying to improve himself and also constantly hungry, was he would always putting himself in a position where he had a big goal that he was working towards, investing in the next property. He was going to do another development. So and it's the same with, I think, all of the salespeople I've had. They've got a goal and they're very resilient.
Interesting.
Because you're going to get lots and lots of rejection. You're going to get lots and lots of situations that are going to make you feel and question your own ability, doubt yourself. And so having the resilience to go, cool, well, that didn't work out, and I'm not going to take it to heart. I'm not going to take it to my identity, and I'm going to allow that to go and move on to the next. And like those days we used to do with Johnny G, those campaigns, I tell people about those days, and people like we would do up to 20. There was 20 bookings each in our calendar on a day per day.
Yeah.
And these were closing calls. You know, the amount of rejection, the amount of shit that you used to do, the conversations we used to have. So we'd do those big campaigns with Johnny. It was like, okay, it's going to start raining money, so we need to get the buckets ready. And we're going to do whatever we can to just for the next 2 or 3 weeks, we've got to lock in and just make as much as we can. And we'd have the paid ads going, and we'd have Johnny going. Johnny's would come in on the hour. So because the way he's worked, they were booked on the hour.
Yeah.
And then with the Facebook ads that we had running, which was a separate campaign, they were through the Calendly. I think we were using Calendly. So I used to block out my first half an hour, because they were 45-minute sessions to an hour max, but they definitely weren't half an hour sessions. Like you need usually 40 minutes. But just to maximize, we block out every 30 minutes on the hour. So then all of the pay, and then I would change the amount of the time for the paid appointments to 30 minutes. And so, you know, you might get 5 to 10 paid appointments, and then you get 5 to 10 booked from Johnny G, and they were just on there every half an hour for, 10 hours.
For 3 weeks.
10 hours a day for 3 weeks. I remember, I'd cancel all my appointments. I'd just lock in. I'd make sure I was eating and hydrating and coffee, and we just make heaps of money.
It's incredible when you get a good sales rep onto your team, like how your business can fucking transform. Like even just one good, like I don't think a lot of people quite understand that. I think because a lot of people listening to this would, but
I don't think people do.
Okay, because when you've got someone extraordinary, or you've got two of them, like it can completely change your entire business
overnight.
Right?
Overnight.
Yeah.
What happens is when you hire someone who's maybe good or okay, they're doing numbers, but they're not blitzing it. You as a business owner, you're a founder, you can start questioning your own funnel. You can question the business. You can question the offer. You question everything. And it's not until you actually somehow stumble upon an absolute elite salesperson that you're like, oh shit, that's It was just it was just people. Offer's great, funnel's great. This person was just mid. They were just a mid salesperson, or they weren't hungry enough, or they weren't resilient enough, or they were full of excuses. And so, as a business owner, you just listen to the excuses. You go, "Oh, it's the funnel. It's the prequel homework. It's the offer needs to be. We need to improve the offer." No, we had that at BAI.
100%.
Yeah, because remember the first sales people we hired were
Fucking circus.
were useless. They weren't useless, but shout out if they're listening. But but they didn't get results.
Yeah.
The results were not there, and I was a player coach at that point, so I was still closing, and I was like, why the fuck are they not closing? Like, how can they not close? And it wasn't until we hired Adrian. He was the first actual gun that we hired.
Yeah, that's right.
And that was when things really took off. And it was obviously that combined with a good marketing team.
Question. So, like, a good sales rep can jump on any offer, right? And we'll dive into like RSI, but
Yeah.
I kind of think, like, for example, if I was to jump onto, let's say, I don't know fitness, right? So let's just say I started jumping on a fitness offer. I'd learn about it and I'd get good at it. But I feel like if you and I are on the same level in sales, like competency, you understand fitness way more than me. I feel like you would sell better than me. So I guess my question is, like, do you think for people who are looking to get into like remote sales, like you want to kind of focus in a sector or a subsector that like you have conviction?
You've got relevancy and to 100%.
Is that
100? Oh, yeah, 100%. You can sell anything. I don't think you need to be a product or subject matter expert to sell something.
Yeah.
Because most of sales is people. You're selling to people, not product. You're not selling the product, you're selling the person generally. You're dealing with the person. If you can manage people, you don't have to be skilled in the product. But if you have relevance, if you've got passion, if you've got conviction, if you've got some authority in that space, that's one thing. If you can say, if you've got a story about, let's say you're selling property investment and you've personally built a 7-figure portfolio yourself, immediately you've got more respect from the prospect on the call.
Right.
Same with fitness. If you're shredded and someone wants to be shredded, they're going to listen to you more so than if you're not. And so that's what we say is sales is really communicating the value and communicating value of what it is you're selling, but also helping someone to make a decision that's right for them. And people coming into sales who've never sold before, it's very simple to learn. It's very much just a process. If you can follow a process, you can sell. People are communicating, you can follow a process, you can sell. But it helps if you're selling something you're passionate about or that you could give a TED talk on because you're so passionate. Like people who've got fitness experience or passion for the gym, people who've got property experience and they love property, they've bought investment properties, they can become a buyer's agent, or they can come and sell for a buyer's agent, or they can sell for a property investment company because they love it.
Yeah.
And it lights them up. And so doing something, you're following a passion or something that you have an interest in is the easiest way to get a start in remote sales.
Yeah. The reason I asked is, like, I get people who hit me up on Insta all the time, like probably your students or I don't know, just.
Oh, probably.
Yeah, like just closes, right? And I feel like they just probably think it's a good offer or like they've heard it's a good offer, but like they don't really, I think, care about like what we're doing enough. I'm not saying all of them. I'm just saying some of them. And it's like, then you get some of them that do though. Like that you can tell they've researched, they own investment properties. Like they actually understand the buyer's agency world. And I'm like, okay, like I'd more gravitate towards those people. And I guess my question, like leading to that, is like, are you recommending to these students, like, hey, like once you become good or like ready to go, like find something you really fucking care about?
Yeah. Yeah, we've got an offer assessment checklist. So they assess companies, they research companies, and they assess them on different criteria. And so that's pretty much at the top of the list, is something you're passionate about. But in saying that, there are things that if I'm going to sell, I'd prefer to work in a team that has a really positive culture, that I'm getting supported, I've got training, the good lead flow coming through, the product gets results and it does what it says on the box. and something I can feel that is going to be delivered on when I'd prefer to sell something like that over something I'm passionate about that doesn't have those boxes ticked, that maybe doesn't get results, toxic culture, terrible lead flow. So there are a lot of instances where, it just depends on there's some criteria. So I'd say that's at the top of the list. But if you get an opportunity and it's not something you know a lot about, like I'll give you an example. One of our students, he 23 rugby player, like pretty semi-pro, and that's his main focus. So he wanted something that he could sell around his rugby career. And so he found a role with one of our clients at Beyond Closes. We were able to get him into a role with a company that they sell VAs, I think bookkeepers or accountants. So they place VAs or accountants into businesses.
Okay.
So he wouldn't have known what an accountant or bookkeeper does.
Yeah.
Has no passion, no relevance for it, but unbelievable founder. He's a boardroomer, or was a boardroomer. Awesome culture. The guys on the team are just, they're so supportive. Excellent training. The product gets great results. He can get really passionate about it. So he just spent the first month or few weeks like listening to podcasts and learning really about the product itself. So, and if the shoe's on the other foot, if you're a founder, who are you going to hire? You're going to hire someone who's got sales experience and skills, or you're going to hire someone who's, in your case, let's say, has been a buyer's agent before.
Mm.
Every time you should be looking to hire the salesperson and train them on the product rather than hire the subject matter expert.
Yeah.
And train them on how to sell, because that's a far more challenging thing to do as a founder or as a business owner, is to train someone, teach them how to sell.
Yeah.
Versus teach them what you do.
Yeah.
And we did that. There was one we got stung at BAI. That dude who, good fella, great dude.
Okay.
He was a buyer's agent. He'd been a buyer's agent since, I think, Cohen Handler.
Okay.
We needed a closer.
Oh, you're right.
He came on.
Yeah.
Couldn't close the door.
Disaster. I think it's a good point you bring up of just like that perspective around that balance, right? Like you're right. Like let's say you like fitness, but you choose an offer and the culture's shit, the leadership's not good, there's not good training. It's just like defeats the whole purpose. And you're right. Like that example you gave, like you can spend time and learn about something and then get passionate about it and then want to, then care about it.
Yeah.
And be around the right environment to then nail it. So,
well, I became passionate about buyer's agency.
Yeah, true.
I knew nothing about. I had no.
That's right.
Real estate experience. My parents were never property investors. It was not something I had ever been interested in. And over time, I became a big advocate of what we were doing.
True.
As the BA space.
That's a good point. So, current business now, Remote Sales Institute.
Yep.
You started that when, like April last year?
Oh, it's coming up to 2 years now.
2 years,
It'll be
okay.
April 2023, I believe. So we did. So we started recruiting. We started recruiting for businesses. I just would constantly get people, like a lot of buyer's agent students would go and graduate. They'd go build a massive business and they'd need some help with their sales. And I was the only sales expert they knew, so they would get like Jack and Arjun and Sammy Gordon. And so we started to, get some consulting in that space. And then of course, then that sort of started to develop into recruiting. Actually, we started that offer. We started a little offer to start with.
True.
Yeah. And that was how I met Shani, who's my partner now, who we've now got 2 kids. She's my business partner. But you and I, we sort of saw an opportunity. I was working with Cole Gordon, US hours. We decided, and I was busy here, so I decided to stop that and potentially just start a similar little offer here in Australia. So we kind of kicked that off. And I remember we started that and we started running ads, and I called Shani and I'm like, I think I need to start a recruiting agency, because we were looking to get candidates.
Yeah.
Train up sales
That's right.
reps.
And that was the block for us.
It was the block because we just didn't I could train them on how to sell, but I couldn't. There was no way at that time that I would have had the contacts or the knowledge to teach them how to grow their career and how to find a role and how to position themselves. And so I called Shani. She'd been previously engaged. The last time I spoke to her, she was engaged. I called her to talk about starting a recruiting agency. She's the only recruiter I knew. And then she's like just dropped that she's not divorced, but she'd separated. Maybe no, she was engaged, so it wasn't like they had to get divorced. But she'd separated, so she was single again. So then we started chatting and DMing, and over the course of about sort of 8 to 10 months, it then transpired into we started dating, and that business we ended up.
You missed the good point. You flew to Mexico, and then you invited.
We got time. I don't know how much time we've got.
The high level.
So high level. Yeah, we were DMing. We'd met once because I was consulting with Jack Henderson, and I was coaching his sales team and working pretty deeply in his business. And then Shani was also working in his business as a HR consultant. And so we met through that. And I met her once for lunch. It was a year before I'd called her about the recruiting thing. Met her once for lunch. Great person. Thought she was awesome, like energetic, entrepreneur, pretty inspiring young girl. And and then we started chatting and connected, and then we were DMing, and then we started FaceTiming. And I lived on the Gold Coast by this stage, and she was in Newcastle, and we just didn't ever make time for a date or for an in-person thing. And I was heading away. We're starting to get like to the point where we were constantly on the phone to each other. And I was heading away to Panama for a friend's birthday, a surprise. I was going to be surprised to my mate's birthday. And there was going to be like a festival. It was in Panama. There was going to be like this big sort of Burning Man style festival nearby where this birthday was. And so I kept sending her the acts that were playing at this festival. And I was like, I just ended up saying, you should come. You should come over to Panama. And we'd never had a date. We hadn't seen. We'd just been DMing, talking on the phone, and she didn't say no, which was a good sign. And then she said, "Fuck it, let's do it." And then I started freaking out. I'm like, "Is this like legit? Is this the right idea?" And I was leaving like 3 days. So she said yes. She had to book flights from Sydney. She flew to Panama from Sydney. I flew from Brizzy, and we met in Panama. And that was like the second time we'd met in person, but it was like, a long time between drinks. And since then we have hardly ever been apart. That was in 2022. And then quickly we got pregnant.
Very quick over there?
No, we did a month over there. Then we did another 2 weeks in Palm Beach. So we had a 6-week first date, which was wild. Panama, Mexico, which was epic, and then New York. Came home, 2 weeks in Palmy. She went back for a week to Newcastle. We ended up like getting out of her apartment. She moved up to Palmy. And then we were pregnant pretty much straight away, which was a big shock. And then we obviously had a baby, and that was a stressful time, to be honest. I was running BAI's sales team. She had a business. She had like multiple staff down in UE. She had an office, a recruiting office. She was full-time recruiting real estate agents. And then she had horrendous hyperemesis, which meant she was just vomiting every 2 minutes. She was just vomiting with this pregnancy. So she was bedridden. So then I had to take over the recruiting agency from I was running a Newcastle recruiting agency from Palm Beach, recruiting real estate agents and property managers, managing all her staff. And I was running BAI sales team. She was sick. And then, eventually I had the baby. People started asking us for recruiting closers and setters, and we started doing that just on the side. And that grew. More and more people wanted that. And then more and more candidates, we just didn't really have a good talent pool for candidates. And it was pretty apparent that we should start a training business. We should start teaching people how to sell, how to close, how to set. And then that would help us with our talent pool for our recruiting agency, because the biggest block we had was trying to find the best talent. And so that's how it was born. We started a Facebook group. We did a little mini pilot launch in 2023 that we got about 20 people into the pilot group, got epic results. It was one of those ones where we sold it before we'd built it. So we sold it, then we had to go and build the course.
Which is good.
Which is awesome.
Shows validation.
Well, dude,
puts you under pressure.
Dude, you know me as well. If it were right up to me, the course still wouldn't be finished. We wouldn't have a business. So that's what I love about Charlene. That's what
that's true.
She's just execution, and I can overthink and over tinker with things. And so she was like, "Let's get this out." She was the one that booked all the like we did a little launch in the Facebook group. She started DM setting everyone and booked all these sales calls in my calendar, and then we just closed them. And then we'd had all these people that paid us money, so we had to finish the course, and so we had a 2-week start date. So in 2 weeks we sort of launched it, and then over the next a couple of months, we sort of finished it, and then now we're coming up to 2 years. We've well over 500, coming up to 700 students, and it's been far beyond the wildest. The success has been far beyond what I would have imagined, and a big part of that was because when we started running ads for that when we had that. Do you remember Shelley?
No.
Do you remember one of the first sales that we made on that offer? We ran ads for the BizOps sales, like let's help people become sales.
Is that the one that I closed on the phone?
Yeah, I think
because I took a phone call.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, you did actually. You closed one. Yeah, you closed one. And we delivered the service. We got them results, but I just remember thinking. Yeah, I just remember thinking it was going to be an uphill battle to get results and just to get things going, and then so with RSI, it's just. Yeah, we managed to find a sweet spot, and we found the people who we're working with are professionals. They've got a lot of them have got lots of experience in sales. So a lot of them don't have experience in sales, but they've just, the community we've built, the community, it's really hard to describe, but it's been phenomenal.
Yeah, good on you. And I think you and Shani, such a good combo. Like I think I think it's such a good niche. Like there was no one when you launched 2 years ago that was there was no like dominant player who was good in the marketplace in Australia.
Not in Australia.
Yeah.
No.
So big opportunity.
Yeah, there was an opportunity. We didn't see it that way. I wasn't looking at it thinking there's a biz op here. It was more of we had a recruiting business. Shani and I as a team are a pretty potent team, I think, as well. Like she would have to be the best high ticket recruiter in Australia, and I think the world, and then I don't see a lot of other sales trainers out there who have the experience and the depth of experience that I've got. And so we've got a great team. And so it made a lot of sense just for us. We need candidates for a recruiting agency. And now with what we're doing with recruiting, so yes, we work with a lot of business owners still. We did over 65 placements in our first year with Beyond Closers while we were growing this training business. So we're running the recruiting agency, we had the training business was growing. And now a lot of our focus, because the training business just keeps growing, a lot of our focus is now moving towards that. We're helping business owners in a different way. We're consulting, but we're also creating industry partnerships with people who want to come and recruit an RSI certified sales rep.
So how does that work?
So our students go through a rigorous training process. They come out with a certification, and naturally, more and more people are starting to reach out. More and more business owners are looking to. They want salespeople.
Yeah,
they want trained salespeople, people who have got the skills and particular knowledge in this space. And we've just had a lot of success with our students being placed and then just crushing it on roles, on offers. And so when someone reaches out, they're looking to recruit. We set up a partnership with them. They fill out a form. We get all of their details. We sort of run it similar to a recruiting process where we have an onboarding call. We understand, we take a brief, and then we position them in our community as a career partner. We post up their roles. Sometimes they'll come and speak to our student group. We'll interview them. People can ask questions, and then they they get a steady stream of applications. So whether they're recruiting or not, they'll get a steady stream of people who are applying. So what I'm coaching up the business owners, my career partners to do is to not just recruit when they need to. They need to dig the well before they need the water. So build a talent pool. And so that's what we're doing when they need recruitment. Naturally, they'll have lots of applications, but even when they're not needing it, we really encourage them to grow their talent pool through RSI trained students.
Smart.
And
building a bench.
Build a bench, man.
Yeah.
You got to build a bench. Like I said, if you're hiring in a hurry, if you need to hire in a hurry, if you need to hire with your hair on fire, if you're always hiring in a crisis, and fucking hard to build a business because salespeople, they'll perform and they won't.
Yeah.
And you're often you need to have the confidence that you have a bench, because that's the only way that you can manage people properly. If you need to make a tough call because someone's not hitting their numbers, it's far easier if you've got already a lineup of people who are chomping at the bit to come and work for you.
It's so true. You obviously know one of my former coaches, Simon Reynolds.
Big Cy, yeah.
I had him on the pod as well.
Well, he's gave you the idea for BAI, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah,
he did. I was in San Fran and we were brainstorming, and he'd just done Oven's course, and he's like, he helped me brainstorm. But he said something similar to me, like what you were sharing, which is when I was a co-owner handler, he was like, hey, you should always be prospecting, not for customers, for talent. Always. Like, so even if you got, like, let's say, senior marketing manager, you should be meeting other other marketing managers in the marketplace to temp check, like, is my one at the level? B, if they are not looking good, you've got a pipeline of conversations that you've been activating. And then thirdly, like, you're learning more about the role and what they do. And I think it's so important with sales, right? Like with sales reps, because they can fuck your business. Like you have two that leave, gone, and then you rush hire, like you said, because the hair's on fire. So I think it's smart what you're doing.
And you don't have talent pool, you're relying on Seek.
Yes.
So with our recruiting, the thing that we realised with our recruiting business was thank fuck for RSI, because especially with setters, so fucking hard to hire a setter.
Why?
Dude, because a lot of the time they don't have experience, because there's not a lot of experienced setters who are looking to continue to sidestep into another setting role. Okay. So there's not a lot of talent who've had extensive experience as an appointment setter. So often they are transitioning. And then often people the setting role, it's an entry-level role, so it's a lower paid role, but it's still a very high volume role. You still need someone who's got all of the attributes of a salesperson, and you need to continue to sell them the vision that they can progress. But there's also, you need them there in that seat for an extended period of time. You don't want someone who wants to progress 4 weeks into it or 3 months in, they're tapping you on the shoulder saying, when can I be a closer? So it's, man, people who hire VAs to do setting or crazy. Like AI setters, it's
wild.
It's fucking wild because there's skill involved. There's so much skill and strategy involved in setting. So yeah, I think it's far harder to hire hungry, committed, dedicated setters who are willing to grind, because it's not an easy role either.
Getting back to that comment around like prior sales experience, if you look at, I mean, you obviously understand Buyers Agent Institute, like the student success. I would say 90% of the top performers at Buyers Agent Institute had never worked in sales. I reckon, like I've looked at it, and it's around 90% of the top had never, ever worked in a sales role. And it's just interesting because like I was shocked because I was like that they're getting such good results with no like sales training. And so it kind of opened my eyes around this whole notion of like having to have this background in deep sales to crush, because that kind of that threw that out of the water for me.
Yeah, one of my top closer, well, besides Brad, Brad, who's our sales leader, his name's Bobby. He's an absolute, he's a certified sales. The young fella's 23. He's living his life. He booked a one-way. He went through our program. He was a tradie. I think he was a plumber.
Okay.
No sales experience at all. February this year, joined the program. Was one of the most dedicated students I've ever met. He was on every call, ask questions, bring calls to listen to, role play he would book role plays with people every day. He was so dedicated. And he landed a role, he landed his first role, booked a one-way ticket to Bali. Was like, out of here. Fast forward to today, we've got him on our team. He closes at 50+%, potentially higher, some months 60. And last week we had him and one of the students who's actually working with Jack Henderson now. So he closed one of our students, and the student became one of our best, awesome student. Now working with Jack Henderson, really positive, but had heaps of objections.
Okay.
And Bobby said, dude, I think it'd be good if we did a session where we watched that video, we watched that sales call. I've spoken to Min and he's keen, and we'll just break it down together and we'll look at the objections and look at how I handle them. And so we ran a session. It was we had 60 or 70 of our students on the session on Monday. It was this Monday night. And it was called the Objection Beatdown. We watched the call. It was crazy. Like, Min gave all the objections under the sun, and Bobby just handled them like an absolute pro.
Certified savage.
And dude, the people on that call, the people were just losing their minds. All of our students were on there just going, "This is amazing. This is incredible, Bobby. You're a god. You're a sales god." And just everyone was blown away. And then at the end, he was like, "Guys, I want to remind everyone that I had no sales experience. I'd never sold anything in my life." And until February this year, when I joined the program, and that's just typical. Again, it's resilience. What I said before, resilience and a big goal. Sales experiences can help, but also is certainly not necessary, and sometimes can hinder. If you're coming in like, dude, real estate people, we have to teach them. We have to help them unlearn bad habits.
It's hard.
There's lots and lots of bad habits they bring into it. They sell things like sell me this pen. They'll be like, "Oh man, look at this pen. This pen has all of these benefits and features. This is a limited edition pen, and if you buy it today, it's going to be this price. And if you buy it tomorrow, it's going to be higher." And they sell. There's positive selling, and that just doesn't really work in this space. There's a place for it, but most of the selling is really when you're asking questions and finding out information. And a lot of salespeople who are career salespeople just don't have that in them. It's like selling cars. It's ineffective in this space.
It's a great story about Bobby Alec, how came to you in Feb, went through the program, and now he's like your top closer.
Yeah.
Like it's just great to see.
We're very lucky. We're very lucky. Like, what we sell it's very rare that you get to sell something that you are the product. So he gets to now sell. He went through the program to become a closer. He now sells. He's now a closer, earning 15, 20K a month. Yeah. And he's now obviously just speaking from experience and selling people. He's got so much conviction on what he's selling now.
It'd be so strong.
Yeah. He booked a particular Bali. He's sitting there in Bali living the actual thing that what everyone has come for, which is the lifestyle, the freedom, the flexibility, the money. He gets to share that now.
You guys are launching in the US next year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one thing that we've our YouTube channel, it's still really small. Like we started that a year ago maybe, and it's about 1,100, 1,200 subscribers now. But a lot of our subscribers are US based, and so we've now had a bunch of US students that come through. They find us on YouTube. They come through. They compare us to different closing companies. It's pretty common for that to happen as well. And we've had a lot choose us. And then we're getting a lot of jobs. So what we provide to our students is we go out to the market as well, and we find lots of opportunities. So sometimes we partner deeply with a career partner and we really work with them closely. And other times we just hear of jobs, or we get jobs that come to us. And so we just post them. They're unvetted. But a lot of those in the States. And so we're getting access to a lot of opportunities in the States, in Canada, in the UK. So it's just given us confidence now. We've got US students, people who are living in US. We've got opportunities in the US for our students. Some of our career partners are based in the US. A lot of our students are actually based in Australia, working US time zone on US offers. So it just makes a lot of sense for us to expand. So we recently hired a media buyer, internal media buyer. So we were using an agency. Got another copywriter now. And so we're going to launch early next year. We're going to have a crack and start running ads in the States.
So good.
Yeah.
Such a bigger market, bigger impact. I
was selling this offer for Cole.
That's right.
So I was selling this exact offer to people in the States. And so, I was very fortunate to see how things worked and to kind of close this offer and actually speak to the types of buyers who we're potentially going to be speaking to in the States.
So just so I understand, so the market in the States, obviously it's more mature in terms of what you're selling.
Yeah.
Like there's obviously other players in there that are doing the biz op, but also doing the recruiting, yeah?
Yeah.
And so it's just like you're just going to come in with like that, just being that Aussie business, that Aussie face.
Yep.
And just eat into that market.
Just the accent, I think, will help set us apart.
I think so. I think so.
Yeah, I mean, I really wanted to build a strong foundation of success before we did that. And I think it could just be a story I'm telling myself, but I want to hit 100 5-star Trustpilot reviews before the end of the year. We're on track for that. We've got nearly 60 plus podcast episodes with lots of our students who are sharing their journey. So we've got just an irrefutable amount of proof and results. And then we have a full-time, our student success is just dialed in. So we've got full-time student success managers, people who are fully dedicated to making sure that people are getting results. So I just wanted to have the kinks ironed out before we really push the button hard. So our scale has been, I'd say, modest growth without trying to really blitz scale. So we could make sure that what we're delivering the product is actually delivering and getting results. So now that that's in place, it's just about making sure that the marketing hits and testing it. So
unreal. Well, mate, thanks a lot.
And mate, great to be here.
And congrats to you and Shani. I've obviously worked with you for 7-8 years. And
you
blew up my business. And when I said earlier that you guys are a powerful combo, you guys really are. I think, the skill set's incredibly complementary. And I mean, you understand sales, like B2B, B2C. You've built your own businesses. You've worked within sales teams. You fully get it. And you don't get many, I think, trainers I find who really understand it that I've seen that really get it.
I think you're now seeing the rise of the sales influencer.
Yeah.
Versus sales coach. So there's more and more sales influencers out there who, they're influencers, they're getting a following. But when it comes to coaching and when it comes to really helping someone build those skills, develop those skills and become a top 1% closer, it's a very different skill set required than to get followers on Instagram.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
And that's why I think you guys are just primed for that execution. So well done.
Well, dude, thank you so much for the opportunity, bro. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for BAI.
Thanks, brother.
And the opportunity there.
Cheers.
It was fun.